Good. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Bill.
How are you, man?
I'm a little,
Yeah.
yeah.
Long week.
No, I don't feel tired. I just feel like not awake.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
And you're normally a pretty early riser. What time did you get up today?
6:45.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
6:30, 6:45 is kind of my routine these days. Yep.
Man, I would love your post yesterday has me just thinking about being like a 5 a.m. guy though.
I know. It's so sexy. It's like,
It is. It is sexy.
I don't know why either. It's like, yeah, I get up at 4:47 a.m. Punks. What's
Yeah.
up?
I mean,
But that means for
there's
me,
that.
the problem for me is I love sleep. Like my body loves sleep. And so like that 8 hours is like for real for me. So that means I'm going to bed at 8:47, 9 p.m. to get my 8 hours if I do that.
Yeah,
So, you know, give and take.
that's rough. Yeah, and that's the trade-off, right? Because Alice doesn't go to bed until 9:30.
Yeah.
Right? And then
Yeah.
I need a block of time with my partner to like hang out and
Yeah.
reinforce that relationship because A, I want to, and B, it's necessary.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, okay, go to bed, but I want to hang out. It's really hard, right? There's like a whole discipline to that whole thing. And really, when you have like a family and kids and everything else, it's about setting the expectation, right? Just like with everything else, right? When you set expectations well and you plan, everything becomes easier. And last night I was pretty wiped last night, and I mean, as soon as Alice was asleep, Melissa's like, "Hey, why don't you go to bed? Why don't you go to bed?" And then because I'm grumpy and I'm kind of tired, I'm like, "I don't want to go to bed." I turned into like that 5-year-old who just like wants to like stay around and hang out and not really be focused on what they're supposed to be doing. Let me move this a little bit so I'm not looking so far all
Right.
over the place. But yeah, how is the week, my friend?
It's good. I want to shout out to see Lila's here. So she says, good morning,
Hey,
Jake
Lila.
and John. And Gabriel's here, of course, as our homeboy.
Good morning, Gabe.
And he says, what a busy week. He said, Lila said, y'all got up at 4:47 a.m. Pacific time. I love that.
Hey, there it is. Perception
Right.
creeping in.
That's right.
Changing the angle.
That's right. Frames, as you
I
say.
love it.
New frame.
Lila's just making us look good. I'm killing it on Pacific time.
That's right. Let's not talk about New York, but I'll tell you what, if I lived in Idaho, I'd be a champ.
Alice comes in later today. Hey, Dad, are we gonna go play? Hey, I'm on Pacific time, baby. It's only like 3 o'clock. I can't go outside and play with you.
That's right. I'm sorry. That's right. Have you had lunch yet? Come on. Yeah.
You drinking a beer? So yeah, man, I needed a power shirt today, right? Like, so I'm wearing a Michael Jordan shirt, and because right, since you don't go out, or I don't go out anymore, like I've got all these shirts that I love, and I'm like, so I'm just gonna wear them, right? And today, I've gotten almost everything done. I got to write one piece of content for the course or the thing,
Okay.
and then I need to do my daily value post, and that's it, right? Like, it's crazy to think that like that's how like my day is going to be as far as stuff I need to do, so that way I don't have to pay Nazis. But that's what it is, everybody. If I don't complete these actions, that's where my money goes. I build it to be as painful as humanly possible because I don't want to give my money up, right?
That's right.
And if I make it a cause that I believe in, then I can tell myself, it's not that big of a deal if I don't do these things this week.
Right.
When it's going with the Nazis,
Yep.
can't go ahead. It's non-negotiable.
That's right.
So
That's right. I was reading a lot yesterday about pain versus pleasure. Actually, I think even in your Discord, one of your channels there, we were talking about rewarding or learning from or observing, all the different ways like how you motivate yourself. Of course, which you and I, gets us like off Pacific time and on no time. We'll just like chat forever. So yeah, it's fun, man. I think there's a healthy balance between both, and you got to get in there and reward yourself, and you also got to push yourself in ways that are really painful if you want to make big strides.
What do you have for today? You got 10 asks.
I got 10 asks. I got a social media post. I've got an email course I got to finish up. I just had to have that done by this week. Let's see. I've also got one more big thing. Oh, I finished almost all my emails. I got some feedback, so I got to make some tweaks on that. And let's see. One more. I made this big list yesterday of all the stuff I needed to finish by the end of the week.
Nice.
Just to make sure I hit everything. And so you can see there's a lot of cross-offs there, right? I mean, yeah. So just a few hanging things left.
Is there a better feeling to the, like?
I don't know, man. That's a good point. It's like I get a legitimate like ASMR tingle when I check off a task or cross it out. You know, it's like, whew. Yeah.
I just learned what that was like last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because
it's a thing, man.
I mean, Daddy Noah Kagan, right? I got lost down a rabbit hole of some of his videos, and then there was this section where, well, I'm coming across really loud, I think. Is that you?
I'm right next to it's my mic.
Okay. He has this video of like ASMR, just like working in his office around all of his people and stuff like this. And it was kind of great, right?
Oh, I love it.
Then for me, right, like I love to play poker, and I love the dull roar of a poker room with all the chips and the little hushed conversations, and you know, it's grimy, but it's awesome. And
man, you're gonna get lost on YouTube now because I've got so many versions of ASMR stuff that's for my daily work. Like I have like a Hogwarts library one. I have a Skyrim, like trickling water one. I mean, like it's all over the place, bro. I've got it all over. No, it's massive. It's like a huge thing. My daughter introduced it to me about 1.5 years ago. And she started with like the really basic, like, right? He showed me that stuff, and I was like, I'll watch it with you. That's fine, you know. And I'm like, kind of like this. I'm not gonna tell her, but this is all right. And then I was like, hey, are we watching an ASMR video tonight or what?
There's always like another level of like everything, right? And I was watching a video on productivity yesterday, and this guy was talking about how his routines, and I've agreed with this, right? Like when you build like really strong routines, the routines can be the motivational thing that gets you into the mindset to do the hard stuff, right? So like plenty of times in Kung Fu when I didn't want to go to class, like I got other stuff to do, I'm not really in the mood, I'm not feeling it, last time was frustrating or whatever else, but as long as I can make it to the truck, right? As long as I can get that door open and sit down in it, I'm gonna be good by the time I get to the Kung Fu school, right? And like this is years and years and years of cultivating this. I mean, I did Kung Fu for what 14, 15 years. So, but that drive up there and more or less the same music, you know, some nice hip hop that's gonna like get my like heartbeat up and get like hyped and everything. And by the time I pull in the parking lot, game up, I'm ready to go.
Right.
And so this guy's routine was coffee. He's like, look, I gave it up as an experiment. The headaches weren't that bad, but it made it really hard to like focus. I couldn't start my day, and I feel that, right? I mean, having the routine in the morning, and right now, like my routine is essentially this, right? I get up and shower, and then I come straight in here. I haven't had coffee or like anything yet. I'm still like really fasted. I normally have water in here, but you know, but like all this whole warm up gets me ready to be like present and here. Look at it. It's taunting.
Yes, it's true. The power of habit is the most underrated thing in the entire world. I think we're human, and we have this uniqueness about us, and we want to think, man, we're just so unique, which we are. I believe 100%. You know, every DNA is 100% different, not 100% different. Everyone's completely different. We're not all the same. That's what I meant to say. But guess what? We're all the same. We need habits, we need frameworks, we need routines. That's how our brains process information. We're a computer with extras, you know? It's like, you got to do it. So, hey, Lindy, I
All
see
right.
Wendy. Let's see who else. Michelle Stifler's here. She's also been here quite.
What's up? God, Michelle's the best. Michelle
I love
and
her.
her husband Jay. Okay, so let me tell you about these awesome people, right? So Jay works offshore. He works for like oceaneering, and this company, and they provide these like underwater submersibles that go around offshore rigs and clean them up and do all these things. So, and I've known Jay and his brother Matt. What's up, Matt? Forever, right? We all do kung fu together, or did. And Michelle and her husband decided that they wanted to like pick up and move, right? So they sold their house and sold all their stuff, and they lived for like a year in like this trailer, just driving around all over the U.S., hitting all these parks, all these great things. And then they were like, okay, cool, now we're ready to settle. And they bought some land in Tennessee, and they're building like everything, like farms, and I mean, they've got all kinds of stuff. I can't wait to go to Tennessee. A, because I've never been, and B, it'll be cool to go hang out. So
Right. Yep.
she's awesome. She's awesome. He's a little less awesome. But just kidding. Sorry.
So let's see. Gabriel said he's doing a huge social summit tonight, talking about social injustice. So Gabriel, good luck on that, man. I'll see if I can catch it. Tell us in the comments what time it is. Put a link in there. If we can make it, we'll come stop by. Let's see. Elias said that's so good, John. As long as I can get dressed and out of the house, I can walk for a long time. Yeah. Building in routines that create momentum is for real goals. Mm-hmm. Right. Let's see. Lila, this is the first Facebook Live I'm ever seeing. I'm honored to be your first, Lila. And then Michelle said, laugh out loud. Thanks, John.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. Okay, well, so that's my day. What's your day? You said that a couple of things. Is that it, really?
I mean, I worked too long yesterday, right? I worked until about 7 o'clock last night. So part of that was because, catching up with Jeff, which is always a rabbit hole that I'm willing to fall down and lose some time on, and just kind of game planning, right? I did miss a coaching session yesterday, which really like bummed me out because my phone didn't. Normally I get a nudge 2 minutes before, even with this kind of gatekeeper app that I'm using on my phone. Yeah. But I just didn't yesterday, and all of a sudden it was like 2:30. I was like, oh dang! And so I missed that, which is a huge bummer. I'm pretty pissed at myself about it, honestly. Yeah. But today I've got this. I've got who is that? Oh, I've got a call with a client. And then a meeting with Mel, and then I've got a 5 o'clock kind of call with this funnel coach guy. So okay. I've been going to this Wednesday morning call, which is a free mastermind where there's 3 guys who run it. One's a traffic guy, one's a funnel guy, and one's just like a general marketing guy. And so they're drinking the Brunson Kool-Aid and talking about funnels and ClickFunnels and how to do it, and give a lot of really great feedback. And so it's a free call. It happens on Wednesday mornings, and it's been pretty awesome because there's so much in that world that you need some help and you need some guidance. And as much as they do a really good job of making like the whole funnel building thing something that's like approachable, it's still kind of not. There's still like a lot going into that stuff that is really hard to get over. But okay. So these calls are helpful for that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, trying to get some funnels built. So I got a call with that with the funnel guy today. So that'll be like a coaching call. That'll be kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. And then tomorrow morning, walk with Jeff, catch up and hang out and all that stuff.
Is he in town? Is that what the deal is?
Yeah, he's in town.
Just hang out for how long?
It's open-ended.
Okay.
There's some family stuff going on, so he's in town to kind of help out with that.
All right, Jeff, I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna connect. I want to see him while he's in town.
What does next week look like for you? Like what are you betting on?
So next week, I have got full throttle on the content course. So my commitment for this bet is going to be that I'm going to get 5 of 7 videos like filmed, because the way my routine works especially with video content is I got to outline it first and walk through the pieces I want to hit. And I think actually at some point I'm going to share this super amazing, ridiculous cheat sheet from like 20 years old that like the you talk about Granddaddy Noah Kagan. He's a pup compared to some of these guys like Rich Schefrin and those guys. And there's this cheat sheet, that's psychology cheat sheet that tells you how to build a conversation so that everyone hears it. It's amazing. So I'll share that at some point. And so I go through and I outline every single module that way with this sheet, every single speech I give, everything. And so I'll outline it first, so I know my point's being made, one controlling idea, and it's getting illustrated. Then I like to go through and shoot them. And then I like to go through and review the whole thing together, because that's like how my mind is. That's like my superpower. I'm good at looking at holes and finding gaps in like large process. So then I go through and review all that. And then I go back and I make my edits and additions and subtractions and things like that. So it's like almost like a 4-stage process. I can do that all in an hour for like something small, or like this time I'm doing it in a month because this is a course I'm selling. I want it to be great. I'm spending a week in each phase. So next week's phase is film everything.
Nice.
So
that's a really good goal. So you can do 12 videos?
No, I'm gonna do 5.
5 videos.
5. I'm gonna do 7 total, but I'm not gonna commit to 7 because there's gonna be a lot of video. So I think I can only get through 5.
All right, so I'm writing this down. So Jake is gonna do 5 videos. What else you got next week?
I've got a decent load on the client side. So I need to definitely block out a good portion of my week for that. And then I have one other.
I need to put out another offer because my guy right now, we're past the heavy stuff and now we're into the lighter stuff of building his ad to start looking for closers and doing some of these things. So I need to get a couple of people in who want to start at the top of it, of building out the blueprints and everything else like that. So. Okay.
Yeah, the other stuff for me is just I'm doing 10 asks every day into my. If you guys don't know anybody on here, like Lila, for example, she's in my group. Lindy's in my group. But I have a productivity group and accountability group is really what it is, that I'm constantly onboarding people to. So I'm doing 10 asks for that. I'm doing my social media posts. That's something we can talk about. I'm thinking about not doing 30 days. As I was thinking through some of the advice I was giving you about the content, and I'm feeling the same pressure of, even though I know I can just like wake up and do content like that. That's not like a brag thing. That's just like, it's always coming out of me. So I just can't capture it. Right. It's still stressful given what my goals are for me to have to commit to 30 days of content when I don't need 30 days of content to reach my goal this month. Right.
Look at this is realness right here, guys. Yeah. Like this is where we start to really dig in and figure out, like, are these things that we're doing actually moving us towards the goal? Because I was thinking about this the other day. Of like, I think that good marketing, like these days with all the digital stuff, I think that good marketing is really just not trying to automate the stuff that shouldn't be automated.
Is that what you meant by your question yesterday when you were?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. I get that.
Because I had this really cool conversation with this woman yesterday, who's a prospect, and she said that she was going to maybe watch this actually. So, Colette, if you're watching, welcome. And so we had this really cool conversation, and I forgot the point I was making, man. I got so excited about this conversation.
Well, about not automating the things that you should be that matter.
And so we were talking about LinkedIn because she's big on LinkedIn, and I'm whatever on LinkedIn. And so we were talking about how frustrating it is when you get that connection request and that first message is like, "Hey, I'm here," da 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 da, and then that second message is just like a terrible follow up, prompting me to like, "Oh, hey, just want to check in and see." Okay, first of all, you should not be using just in your communications with your clients and prospects, because it never puts you in a position to where you actually sound like you know what you're talking about.
Right.
Nobody who's really confident and knows their stuff and is busy and all of these things is walking around saying, "Hey, Jake, can I just have a couple minutes of your time?"
Right.
No, that doesn't happen, right? Because you don't need that permission, right? Because you have validated your idea, which is yourself, at some point, and so then you're like, "Hey, this is what I do. Would it be worth a conversation?" No. Okay, cool. Boom. And then you just go on to the next one. So
yep.
I think that's the trick, right? You really automate and dial the things that you can, and you don't try to automate and dial the stuff that is not really automatable for the best results.
I love that concept. I love that because the first thing that we always do is take a new piece of tech and just abuse the heck out of it so that we can like find the edges or the borders. Not, and then we go, oh, we need to dial it all back, or we dump it all together. And it's like, no, like same thing with AI. AI is fantastic, but it's already been abused and we're hardly even into that yet.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot.
I love that. That's great because I still to this day, while I batch my content, I post it natively, like the stuff that matters, the stuff that's going to hopefully create leads and things like that. And I still manually go in and have my own DM conversations. I've been toying with a VA with scripts to get those started, to get people conversating, but then taking them over myself. So anyway, I think it's a fantastic way to look at it. Because, I will always say what people want is connection first before they'll have any conversation. And so it's really, really hard to automate connection.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that I noticed yesterday was normally when I do my calls, I'm here, right? I'm right here. My computer's here. I've got all of this stuff around and notes and all of these things. And then yesterday, we're talking about the whiteboard, which is right here. And so I decided, cool, I'm not even going to stand here in front of the computer where I can get sidetracked and not focus. So I walk around. It's not there, everything. It's okay. It's just one of the 1,000 journals on my desk. And stood at my whiteboard and just notated and made notes. And it was, you take it for granted, right? When you get to that kind of level to where you're consciously competent and almost unconsciously competent, which is like mastery. Right. And when you're hanging out in that space, it's really easy to be like, I got this.
Right.
I'm just going to take it a little bit easy. And like, that's, it's like the other day when I didn't want to journal and I was kind of like, I can do without journaling today. And then I made myself get up and do it. Like, that's where you course correct those moments.
Yeah. So I was telling somebody in my group yesterday that if you don't have a focus hour in your day, then you're missing out on like a huge percentage of stuff you can get done every week. And I was telling her, if you can do an hour every day, where you literally turn off everything. Like I physically remove it from my space. Like I turn off apps. I put my phone in another room. Like I remove myself for an hour so I can work. Right. Yeah. And I'm just super distractible. And it's the same idea, right? It's that whole, like you can't let things that that distract you stay near you, like environment design. That's something we talked about earlier. Yeah. If you actually are serious about getting work done. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So for me, for next
link here, one second, I'll put it up. That way anybody can see that. All right.
So me for next week, I'm going to write 2 Sherpas because I've been doing them as the week happens. And I always feel this pressure of like, got to get it done. So next week I'm going to do 2 because I want to get 1 in the can. So that way when, things explode as they do, I don't have quite that pressure. I had a really good meeting with the Throwdown people. So we've got some alignment about that and some goals, brought on that social media person. So next week we need to figure out what we're going to do, because we're going to stop doing the lives because they're too common. We're too accessible. So people are always like, oh, I'll show up to the next one, right? Because we've been doing them each week. So we're going to scale it back a little bit, also to work with our social media team that we just brought on to figure out how because we still want to do lives, because we get to interact directly with people who listen to the show, and we get to ask questions, and it's great. It's a way better format. But we also want to protect our time and everything else like this. So if not mountains of people showing up to the weekly live, cool, that's great, right? It is Friday at lunch. There's a lot going on. I get it. Let's pull it back and put it at a time to where it's not in the middle of the workday, and then we can say, okay, cool, we're going to go live once a month, right? And on those once a month calls, everyone will go, and hopefully we can build up around a topic and promote better and all that other stuff.
So what's going to be the bet for you this next week?
So my bet is 2 Sherpas, 5 daily posts. I put together, I'm going pretty hard on this whole idea of outsourcing parts of myself that don't serve me. So I'm currently looking for like a right-hand person. So I put an ad into a couple of different areas where I look for VAs and for people to help. And really, I'm looking for like the right hand, right? Like the person who's got keys to the castle. And it's going to take a while because like there's a lot of trust. I mean, if I'm going to let somebody in my email and share my LastPass with them and all of these things. Like, it's going to take a certain amount of trust. And for me specifically, the thing that I need in that kind of role is probably a DC personality type, right? So just all task driven. I don't really need you to be people driven whatsoever. I just need you to be, yeah, I can do that, and then go figure it out, right? Because in the beginning, there's always going to be loopholes, and this is not really how I want to build out roles. But this is kind of like a weird one, because like I don't even know what all it's going to catch. I just know there's too many little bitty things that people need that pull me out of my zone of deep work.
Yeah, yeah.
So
yeah, that's. Once again, I'll point to the Michael Hyatt thing. His executive assistant book's really good because he talks about the traditional roles that people hired for in the last 10 to 50 years are not the same today.
Yeah.
Like you would not. That's not an executive assistant role. That's not a project manager role. That's not right. It's a role that you need to fulfill your business. And he's like, give yourself permission to hire that person. You don't need to hire an executive assistant. You need to hire someone who would do this, this, and this, because it creates makes this available for you.
And that's the thing, right? Because the people I know who have done this really well, right? Like Al on the show, he's got a right-hand person named Melissa, and she was awesome whenever I worked there, and she's worked with Al for like 20 years, and she knows his stuff inside and out, and he doesn't really have to, tell her to do anything. She just kind of does it, and like they've kind of got it figured out, and like, that's awesome. I don't have 20 years to figure that out, right? So,
for sure.
And I don't think it took them 20 years, but I mean, there is a warm up and newlywed period, and then there's like a refinement period, and then those things kind of repeat endlessly. So it's going to be a while. So my goal is to interview people around that. I don't really know how to make that into like a good build bet though, because it's important to me to get it done.
Well,
but
let's talk about inputs then, right? That's what we're about. What are the inputs that have to happen to hire somebody? Well, you have to put an ad out, or you have to make asks in circles, or whatever those things are going to be, right? To me, that would make the most sense.
Yeah. So far, what I've done is I've talked to my buddy Jeremy, who's got he's done a version of this for himself about his weaknesses and the things that he's not good at, and so he's kind of brought on this person who's just kind of like a researcher, right? Essentially, and what they do is they just go through his stuff and they file it away and they make sure he's doing it. And I'm like, man, that's awesome. And he goes, man, I interviewed everybody, and I didn't take anything for granted, and I didn't want to settle. So the advice he gave me was just be prepared for it to be a struggle and don't compromise. So that's kind of where I'm at on it. So what I did was I posted yesterday, and I was like, look, this is going to be a detail-oriented position. I need you to be able to take feedback. I'm not like a hard person to work with, I don't think, but I do have high standards. I want your best,
I'll ask Mel. We'll see. Okay, cool. So what's the bet? Because I want to get our guest on too, get them some time.
Yeah, me too. I think the bet is I'm going to have 5 conversations with people who have got more insight into this than I do. And yeah. Okay. So 5 conversations with people who have done this well, in my opinion. And then also, I don't know how to quantify the time to vet the VA, because the thing that's through it's about right over speed for me at this point, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
So the downside of doing some of this betting, right, is that there is a level of, if we just frame this around, I got to make a decision next week, sometimes that's helpful, right? Because I will move slowly to make decisions. But sometimes it's like, this is such a, so maybe what I should do is I should create 2 test projects, right? Like 2 things that I can give to these people that I'm looking at to figure out how detail oriented they are and how self-helpful they are. And that, so maybe that's what I should do.
Yeah, definitely. We use that routine in the agency quite a bit. Here's an actual project for a client we're working on. They won't ever see this work unless it's really, really good, and we ask your permission to use it. But here, go do these things. Show us how you, because then it also puts you in the mindset of here's how I would do it, and you don't have to think much because you're already doing it. So you get to see how they do it right beside how you do it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So it's I've got 2 Sherpas, 1 or 5 daily posts or value posts, and 5 conversations about a right-hand man/lady. And then I've got one. I got my Focus Friday, which is my version of the Sherpa that goes out on Fridays. Actually, it went out. It's going out in about 20 minutes.
And what are you talking about on there?
So I promote this show, and I do 3. Oh gosh, I just started it. So 3 questions, 2 tips, and 1 encouragement. So I want to get people thinking. I want to get people talking, trying things, and I want to get them encouraged as they go through the week. And it leads back to this, because accountability is the big thing I feel like that companies aren't doing internally around their messaging, staying true to their message and whatnot. So it all fits into this. And let's see. And then I've got the content camp videos I got to shoot, and then all my 100% of my client work to be done this week.
Okay.
So I've got those written down for us. I think maybe we'll start posting them too on Fridays on the post here. And
then what we should do is we should screenshot our stick accounts after we place their bets.
Our stick.
Yeah, STICKK. So Stick is a community. It's an online community and allows you to bet on yourself around different improvement things, right? So you can say, cool, I'm not going to drink, and then you can designate someone else to be your escrow person. So Jake will be my escrow person. And so I've been doing these for a while, right? And in some weeks it's just in my head, but I'm going to make myself actually put it in Stick, and I'm going to screenshot it, and I'll share it with everybody else, because I mean, that's how we improve. So we'll take some screenshots of the bets. How much do you want to bet on yourself next week, Jake?
I don't want to do money. I want to do something else this week, because I'm not really motivated by money. So I'm trying to think of a more creative way to humiliate myself or something, I don't know. I'm open to suggestions too. I thought this would be a good way we could set bets for each other, because we know each other pretty well. Yeah. So I like, my personality type. I like to be liked. So humiliation is a big thing for me. I don't like to be not liked. I'm Michael Scott. Fear me or like me? Yes. I want to figure how much you like me.
So let's back up a little bit, right? Because I love doing prop bets and weird kind of things like this as well. But the goal, very specifically about this system that we're trying to build and test and see if it really works, is it's not the fear of the loss of money, right? It's about rewarding yourself positively with negative implications, right? So if you don't do your stuff, then you got to pay to a cause or to me, which was the bet this week. And but on the other side of that is that if you do win, you should get something, not just the absence of pain. You should get some sort of reward for doing hard things as well. So when we take this out of a monetary context, it's hard to be like, okay, Jake, if you do this, you have to go.
Yeah. I got it. Okay, that makes sense. Then maybe on the we can look in the future, maybe adding on the prop side some non-monetary gain. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe we do that around dad stuff.
Okay.
Dad stuff and family stuff, right?
Yeah,
or fitness stuff or something.
Yeah, because we talked about wanting to tie in some more of that family goal stuff too. So let's do that. Cool. Okay. Well, I'm going to go $200 this week.
Okay.
Because I'm going to get this done. And
so you have 5 videos.
Mm-hmm. 5 videos, 1 Focus Friday, and 5 social media posts, and 100% of client work.
Okay.
Hey, Brittany. All right, here we go. I'm going to put this. Can you see our screen when I put these up? Here, how much of it?
If lose, must karaoke Nickelback with feeling. Yeah, that would be painful.
It would.
And if you win, you get to karaoke Journey and no one's watching, right? Because that's what I do when I want to feel really good about myself. I just go for a drive and crank up some lights, make him do a live show with Joker face paint. Gabe, he wants that. He loves that.
Yeah, which you don't know, I'm a closet cosplayer.
Yeah, no, but as the eye, right? So Jake is an eye, so he loves this idea. Like he's already excited about it. He's like, yeah, okay, I'll put on Joker face paint. They're like, let's go. Whereas that would be much more humiliating to me, right? Because Jake doesn't have a problem with the spotlight, right? Like he likes the attention, right? That's part of being an eye, and that's not a bad thing. So these things about it gets really, really interesting about the things that make people uncomfortable, right? Because I like to talk about the things that I do, but I don't take compliments very well, which is really kind of interesting. So,
yep. Cool. Okay, so that'll be my bet. It'll be $200, and it'll be towards Nazis. We'll go with that.
Nazis.
I know.
No, don't pay Nazis, guys. Don't do it. So if you're doing these bets, make sure you're doing it and you can win, right?
When we say Nazis, we mean John and I know what I mean, but
yeah. Don't hop in here thinking you're going to just like crush it on the very first week, because there's some momentum to this, right? You got to get in the swing of it, and you got to get some small wins, right? And this is really, really, really important, because we have a history of setting goals badly, right? I'm going to lose weight. And the only thing you can think of is like Michael Phelps style, like chiseled abs. And we just jump to these things, right? Because we don't do a very good job of this. So don't start next week with like a huge bet, right, on yourself. Like, I mean, make the bet huge, but like make it winnable. Like, you should feel some pressure, but you shouldn't feel like.
It's like SMART goals, right? It's got to be same idea. It's got to be measurable. It's got to be attainable, but it's also got to be a little uncomfortable. So make it $20 your first week if you've never done this before. You know, like start with something that's may seem a little trivial to you, just so you can get that first win under your belt. That's what I'd say. I'd much rather you win the first two bets than lose the first two, because then you have the tendency to be out.
Yeah, because if you lose the first two bets, you're not going to do the third. No. Right? And this is what happens when you start tracking. When you start tracking anything, right? That first thing of, oh God, I didn't do as well as I wanted to. I'm not going to do this next week, right? I mean, it almost happens automatically. Like, it's so just wired in our heads that, So make it a bet you can win. Make it about things that you can actually own without any input from anybody else. And cool.
All right.
We're going to bring up guests.
I just put the link in here for Ben. So
Ben and his partner, who just commented a moment ago. So they're working on a new project.
Is that Brittany?
Yeah. So they are working on a project together. They're pretty great people. Met them fairly recently. I think I met Ben maybe January-ish in jiu-jitsu. And he's working on some stuff and trying to kill it, and wanted to hop in here. So
cool. Okay, so what's yours? What's your bet? That's why we're waiting on him.
Yeah, so my bet is 2 Sherpas, 5 daily value posts. I need to spend 2 hours doing the thing that you talked about a second ago, which is going over my course content from like an overview.
Okay.
And really being like, oh, okay, here are some gaps. And I might get with you on that, actually, so that way you can be like, yeah, John, you're missing 60% of the problem. So I might bother you to take a look at that, because you're my bill.
Got you.
And then I need to create 2 kind of testing projects for these people to figure out if they're going to be good fits for me. So I need to get those built. And then 5 conversations with people who have done the right-hand person outside of themselves well. Okay. So if you know someone who does this well, please let me know, so that way I can reach out to them, because I don't want to pay Nazis money. So I'm also going to go 200, because I'm not going to be outdone by my bill, right? So.
All right. So are these 10 or 20% bets, you think?
Man, honestly, I think that you doing the 5 videos is going to be a stretch, right? I think you're going to get, kind of diverted focus. So it's going to require you to be like, boom, which is hard for most people, honestly. Right. So I think this is a 20% bet for you, man.
Okay.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, it's stretching.
Okay.
It's stretching. I was actually going to say the same thing for you, because you have so much on your plate all the time. For you to commit to 5 conversations, which can take time, is stretching. Yeah. Not from like this is hard to do, but like from a time.
Sure. Yeah. It's just time, for sure.
So I'll give you a 20% here too.
Awesome. Let's go.
All right, cool. Well, we got the peeps on here. We got Brittany and Ben, so we're going to bring them on here.
Let's go.
Yeah, it looks like we have them.
Hey, guys.
What's going on, guys? How are y'all?
Good.
Doing pretty good so far. Enjoying the show. I think this is the first time Brittany's ever watched it with me. I kind of watch all the time. But yeah, I'm bringing her in now.
I usually listen. He watches y'all and walks around the house while he's doing his morning dailies. And so I tend to overhear it. It's pretty good.
Well, thank you. Well, thanks for being on. So real quick. So Ben came to jiu-jitsu with like hair down, like past his shoulders, and did 1 week of jiu-jitsu class. And then he shows up the next week with a shaved head because he was just like, you know what? I'm here. I'm in it. Screw it. And just like came in with a shaved head. I was like, are you the same guy? Like it was so, I've never seen anybody hop on like the martial arts train as hard and as quick as Ben did. So
I wasn't the same guy. Our instructor, they do like a free week, and I pretty much did the fry, like take my money, just give him the card at the end of the first day, and was like, no, this is for me. I know that this is what I want to do. You can't get out of headlocks with long hair, so I sort of had to take the plunge.
That's also legitimately who Ben is. He lives with his whole person. And so once he's decided to do something, that's what he's doing. And that's how life is now. Yeah. It's pretty great.
That's awesome, right? Because like, why would you half step anything, right? As a guy who tends to do that same thing, like before anybody even knows that I'm in a rabbit hole, I'm like 75% of the way down the rabbit hole. So I respect anybody who goes hard at it. So, but you guys are working on a new project. You guys are launching a new business. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, I think you speak better than me. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we have, so without going into too much detail, we're starting up right now, just under cottage industry laws, doing a small gardening business. I have a normal full-time job also in which I deal a lot with food insecurity and the Food Network. And I think COVID especially sort of brought to light a lot of the room for opportunity that we have in our economic system currently. So we're working on that. And so far we have generally a plan. We're working on getting licensing. We've got proof of concept down. We managed to make $1,000 without really trying at all in little less than 2 weeks while also working on our other stuff. So that part, we essentially have the plan. Like, honestly, watching the show has helped us a little bit because we're way more aware of needing to automate a lot of this stuff, make calendars, know what's coming out so we know what we're going to be promoting next month or in 2 weeks, and when we want to post about it, when we want to discuss it. So we have a lot of that going down. Do you want to talk about our main problem?
Turning value to money is one of the main problems. Knowing that there's value in something and trying to figure out how to sort of make that marketable and how to get customers out of it.
Okay, I didn't give him a good setup. The concept there is I want to move away from having to have the full-time job, though I don't dislike my work, and we want to move more towards, Gary Vee, for instance. You guys talk a lot about Gary Vee on the show. Do you want to be sales or do you want to be happy? We're transitioning into this to attain more happiness, essentially, to have more control over our lives and our time and work on the things that we actually want to work on. Mm-hmm. We want it to open opportunities for us to start a nonprofit, maybe. So the idea is, once we have that down, how do we transition also into the stuff, taking this free time and using it for the things that we actually want to do and want to work on? And that's where his brain comes in.
Well, we are constantly conceptualizing ideas. We've got a lot of ideas that we want to follow through with. It used to be that we were always getting in sort of after the wave, and something would come out, we'd have an idea, and then it would get popular, and we're beating ourselves up. Oh, if only we would have done this work ahead of time, we would have been more prepared for this. And lately, over the past year, we've really been catching up, sort of focusing on self, eliminating a lot of the sort of barriers of being prepared like that. And so, yeah, no, just like she's saying, we want to be able to bring this into something that we're doing 100% of the time, so that we have more time to work on whatever side projects that we want to do. And juggling multiple goals is kind of a hard one for me. Figuring out how much time do we need to put towards money making versus how much time to put towards maybe another side project that we really want to bring out of the ether and into reality.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's start there. Jake,
Yeah.
what questions do you have?
Yeah, a lot. because it's my jam. I love this.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'd like to comment first that I love you guys' mindset because I love what you said about removing a lot of things over the last year. Excuse me. Because what the problem is a lot of people, when they try to get productive and effective, is start doing more and committing to more things. And so by removing, I think you're doing a really great thing. And then the second comment was, I also think that you a bit wanting to comment on just or be committed to like one goal at a time is actually a superpower. I think most entrepreneurs have the opposite problem, is they want to do everything. And I can hear some of that in there too, of course, because that's what we do, right? We want everything, present company included. And but your ability to focus on one goal could be a massively huge advantage for y'all. Because it will allow one of you or both of you maybe to concentrate on what's next and really go hard at it and make sure that you're committed to that. So that's kind of my initial thoughts on everything you guys just said. But my first question would be, do you know what this looks like in a year from now if it's successful? Because John and I always talk about you have to back into your goals, right? And you have to know and you have to visualize what this looks like to be able to make a plan to get there. And then to make commitments and start putting inputs in that are actually going to make a difference to get you there. So that's my big question. Is the first one kind of is, do you know what it looks like in a year? Can you paint me a picture?
To put it in a really attainable goal, I would say just making a living on these small garden sales. Like Brittany said, we were able to pull off $1,000 in a couple weeks without really putting any effort to it. Yeah, it was really easy just doing some Facebook sales pretty much. So getting it to consistently making like $4,000 a month to where she could pull back from her job and we would just have the time to focus on expansion and sort of paying attention to where we think it could go would be a really attainable goal for the first year, I think.
Cool. And so the next piece of that is, who are you selling to? What are the things that you're offering? And how many of those do you have to do each month to get to that $4,000 goal, right? That's right. Because John thinks in those ways from a sales standpoint, and I think that those things in a marketing standpoint is if John says, Jake, you need to go talk to 50 people this week, I go, okay, I need to go do this many things on the marketing side to get to 50 people this week. And then there's my task list for the week, but I can't figure out what those inputs are until I know $4,000 a month equals 100 products sold, and it equals 50 of this and 50 in this, maybe, just to start. So where do I start? So that I think that would be the next question. Who are you selling to? What are you selling? How much does it cost?
Yeah, we've done largely the math on that. Mostly we're selling to demographically, it's going to be mostly women. And mostly homeowners, and because some of it is plants and then some of it is vegetables. So mostly it's going to be people that have their own place that they're going to replant. Okay.
And then I think probably the last question I'd have for like this short of a conversation would be, I heard you say that you want to be able to convey how you provide value and turn that into money. What's the value that you provide versus the market or versus what you've seen other people trying to do?
Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to say that's actually another layer on top of this base layer. So this base layer is more about freeing up time. That extra layer, that's the value that we don't know how to turn into profit or how to move on is legit. And that's what I was saying, his brain. He is shockingly good at calling market trends. I refer to it as his foo, and where the water's kind of going to go. And we're getting better at catching up to the wave so that we could actually ride it. But there is, so I won't go too deep into this because I don't know how long we're talking here, but very briefly, he and I, when we cut out sugar a few years ago, I know we sound like crazy people, but we cut out sugar, and we noticed immediately how much better our brains worked and how intensely it was affecting the people around us that were still eating sugar. Like you can watch, sort of before and after when your mom has a piece of cake, and it became really obvious to us that that's affecting a lot of people's thinking and in a general way. Now studies are coming out where it is generally accepted that Alzheimer's is diabetes 3. Mm-hmm. So this is something that we don't have, nutritional certification or licensing on, but we certainly have anecdotal experience for.
We have a lot of anecdotal experience. We both have like gastrointestinal disorders years and years. The selling of these plants is kind of a funny. We have these bigger concepts and we keep bringing it down smaller and smaller and smaller until we finally got to an actionable item, which this was really cool to be able to make money doing this. I've got celiac disease, and years ago, I had to adjust my diet for that. And I know there's medications on the market so that people can kind of eat whatever they want to. And that concept was kind of crazy to me. Once I figured out all I needed to do was shift my diet, that seemed like the easiest way to get healthy and to sort of take care of that. Mm-hmm. So it's been kind of years coming, this idea of self-improvement and taking accountability and just doing things that you need to do to be healthy and happy.
Right. Yeah. That's cool. My wife has Hashimoto's, so we deal with some of that too. So
that's related to Crohn's, which is what I have.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Melissa.
Autoimmune.
Yeah. Well, I think from a practical standpoint too, just for anybody watching, and then just for you guys, like what if you could solve something this week that would help you feel comfortable going into next week about selling some more stuff? What would be like your question? Like, what would you go, I wish I could do this already?
I wish that we already had certifications. We've got to do a little more physical labor to kind of get a larger crop inventory, because I would like to approach sort of larger scale sales, trying to get some things to like schools and organizations, mm-hmm. And kind of ramping it up like that, mm-hmm. Instead of being at the whim of who responds to our Facebook posts and just selling and meeting people one sale at a time.
So I would say, as you're stepping into the accountability table here, right, is that doesn't help you sell. Those are the things that help your brain feel confident to sell more, right? And so the certification is great. I think that will help you have expertise and authority. Understanding how to scale size and things are a problem you don't have to solve yet. It would be a great problem to have to solve. So I don't know about you, John, but my thought is go talk to some schools, get started, figure out how you have to have those conversations, and then deal with that problem as it comes. Not that you don't plan for it, but it's a whole lot easier, especially for entrepreneurs, to deal with problems as they come or challenges versus to plan for them and then never happen, which is what I feel like a whole lot of entrepreneurs fail at, and why they fail in the first 2 years or whatever it is. It's because they overthink it. Go sell your stuff and sell more of your stuff. And then when the problems come up with logistics or whatever, guess what? We're entrepreneurs. We're smart. We just figure things out for a living. That's what we do. So that's my thought, John.
All right. I got questions. All right. So first question is, you guys said the 4K number a moment ago, right? So that's the number that Bridget needs to be able to step away and do this full time?
Yeah, just to be able to sort of pay bills. We get by really, we live pretty small. We live really within our means.
We're so tight with money.
Yeah, we don't do anything. And anything that we make, we're looking at right back into business and things like that. We're not really take a vacation to Hawaii type of people. So,
hey, okay. So first of all, two things, right? So is 4K really the number you guys need to do this, or is that like a nice to have number?
That's pay bills, eat, and then also grow.
Save for expansion.
Yeah, save for expansion. We could probably do it maybe with a little bit less than that, but that would be ideal.
I mean, so there's a level of personal preference in there, right? When you're building out budgets, because some people can live leaner than others. But my recommendation is have that 4K number in your head, but also know like what the bare bones looks like, right? Like if you strip it all back to just like, because it's going to happen, right? You're going to have some fluctuations, especially in the early stages, about things not going the way that you want them to. So figure out what that number is of like, hey, if we have to pull it all out and we still think that this is going, but we need a little bit more leeway, we can drop this and this and this and this and this. Like I've got that bucket of easily killable, money pirates that make my life better, but that I don't actually need. And so mentally, I'm prepared to where if it's like a bad month or when COVID hit, it's like cool, I can just shut all that down, save that revenue. So, and that's helpful. How did you make the $1,000 so easily?
Facebook sales.
Okay, but what are you offering in that thing? Is it like a starter kit? Is it seeds? Is it like a subscription box? Like what?
No.
Individual plant sales.
Individual plant sales.
Is that your friend circle that the sales were done in?
No, just
no.
Just a wild post, just a shotgun post on Facebook Market, and people,
that's it.
Yeah,
we did zero targeted selling. We did zero instructionals, how-tos, help-outs, none of it.
How long did that take to do the $1,000 in sales?
2 weeks, right?
About 2 weeks, but that was more based on when we could meet people to do the sales. That was working around other projects.
we didn't want to run around like crazy all day, and she has a job that she's juggling also. And so it was, we lost a few, even just not being able to meet up right then, or not being willing to drive all the way up to Fort Worth. We're based down in like Burleson, Cleveland area right now. So that was literally sales of people wanting to meet us 3 minutes down the road on off of our exit. So we probably could have expanded if we wanted to hustle more just with that alone.
So you kind of got three main options, right? You can sell more, right? Which is more products, more services and offerings and stuff like this. You can sell it for more, right? So you up the price, or you expand, right? You expand the market, right? So you're getting in front of more and more people. Because I mean, if it was 2 weeks to make the $1,000, then if we just double that, then that's two. We're halfway there, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So where does it break down past that point?
Running out of things to sell, seasons, the rotation of the planet, trying to get more things planted, more things grown. We've considered that's where getting some licenses and things, doing reselling or something to carry us over if we actually don't have the inventory growing ourselves or something.
Wholesaling.
Yeah.
So two questions. Do you have to have the licenses, or are they just like legitimization tools?
They're legitimizing. With cottage industry, you're allowed to sell certain things and then not allowed to sell other things. Flowers are actually regulated. They want you to.
Yeah, they're regulated by the USDA and Texas Department of Agriculture.
So you can sell food, but flowers are more heavily regulated for some reason.
So then, okay, so you brought up an interesting point, right? You don't have control over the seasons. You know, you guys probably don't have the ability to build out like huge areas that are covered like greenhouses and stuff like that, so that you can grow what you want. So if you thought about, we'll offer these plants in this time, and these plants in this time, and these plants in this time, so that we always have something growing because of the seasons and everything else.
Yes, we're trying to work in that direction.
Okay.
And we have the space, and the plan is to build a greenhouse so that we can grow through the winter. And basically what people buy during the winter is indoor plants. And then we're going to move more to also vegetable and food sales as well, because homesteading and cottage industry laws allow you to sell it.
Oh no, we lost Jake.
Here, I'm laggy on my end. I was trying to fix it.
So then the question becomes like what other ways can you monetize this, right? There's obviously things like YouTube, right? If you guys are cultivating plants, growing and stuff like this, you can talk about your lifestyle. You can talk about y'all's journey about, you having celiac and you having, Crohn's.
Yeah.
Like that's impactful.
Yeah.
Right. And so you guys are not doing this thing as just like a cash grab, so the story here is already like nice, right? It's already fantastic, right? You're giving back. Jake Jordan likes to work with cause-driven organizations. I'm pointing this way because this is the direction he is on my screen. So, the tighter that story comes into play about why you do what you do, the easier everything else becomes after that. Does that make sense? That's how I think you're marketing. So you guys have got this great story. So I would be leading with that, right? On your posts. Hey, when I had to overhaul all my diet because of celiac and Crohn's, this is what it looked like. It was a struggle, but here's how we got past it, and maybe even turn it into a course, right? You could take some information and like build out like a 4-week plan. Sorry, I covered my light, of moving from like a regular diet to one that actually benefits you, right? Or something along those lines.
That'd be a great lead generator.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Right. Or, I really like tools at the very, very top of funnel things, right? So like before the person realizes that they have a problem, you got to show them that they have a problem, right? And that's how they enter the awareness stage of your funnel. And so when they don't know that they have a problem, right? And I got to deal with this all the time because they're going to get salespeople to tell me that it could be better, which nobody wants to do. So how do I put that crack in the armor, right? How do I gain that foothold? And tools and calculators and things like that, so that we can't really argue with it, are, in my opinion, some of the best stuff for that. So if you guys can maybe do like a calculator of like, cool, here's what the average person eats and sugar and terrible stuff, and here's how much we eat, and here's how much, and then talk about the shift between those two things. So that way you're creating a gap, right? So between where they are and where they're going.
Yeah, and I think
I never thought about putting that on paper, actually. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'll say I think you always want to start with trying to find your true fans, like your tribe. John hates that word, but like the people that are going to be like you, like that deal with, autoimmune diseases or things like that you can already directly speak right into their life right away. Those are the people that are going to be attracted to your post anyway. So it's figuring out, number one, how can I serve them first? Because I know I can serve them because I am them. And that's where you come up with really great lead generators and tools and things like that. What do I wish I had 5 years ago when I started? What's a measuring tool or something that I really wish I had? Go make it. Make a rudimentary version, get it out there, get people on an email list, that sort of thing. Then I think what you find is as you want to expand, you start going, okay, what's the next level of thing that I feel really comfortable about that's going to help other people? Like you said, it's females, it's homeowners, it's probably people that fall into kind of different circles because they do care about eating, is it vegetarians? Who knows? Like there's going to be natural paths to go down, right? And just surveying the heck out of all those people about what it is that they want to buy. I think that's one of the major things that entrepreneurs run into is we sell things that people need, not what they want. And I use that as a marketing technique too, is talk to people about what they want and sell them what they need. So find out what they want in the plant world, talk about it, offer some of it that you want to offer, and then back into the needs. Because like it's easy when you're talking about coaches and trainers and things like that. We're like, well, first you need to do this. And like we have these plans, right, for people. But on the retail side, it's like it's the same journey. It's just you're taking them deeper down the rabbit hole of purchasing into a lifestyle that you guys already run, right? So you start with 4 plants on your back porch. All right, that's our starter kit, and there's something to get you there, and you just take them down that path, right? And you keep bringing them deeper and deeper, and you just keep feeding the top of the funnel, and that's what kind of I was talking about before this is that you want to make sure you know who your audience is, keep reaching out to them, connecting with them, there's all sorts of ways. Of course, my brain's going 1,000 miles an hour, right?
Yeah.
But there's all sorts of things you can do, but remember who you're serving and how you're serving them with your story, because that's going to be your most powerful asset.
I'm going to go the other way.
Sure.
So, first of all, I love, you said this, Bridge, that like he sees these kind of market trends and it's kind of like eerie, but like it's like this is the best time ever to do this kind of project, right? Because like people are spending more time at home, and there's so much overlap with other things that are popular right now, like keto. Like, I mean, I think everyone has tried keto. I think Jake is the only guy who's like done it for like longer than like 3 weeks, but it's hard, right? It's really, really hard. And a big part of that is like not focusing on your macros. So maybe what you do is you say, here is a guide about being very, very veggie heavy, but also hitting your macros, right? Because then you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You're addressing this keto market, which is huge, but you're also kind of, let me show you the way, right? And to Jake's point, the other thing is go figure out like what that, I think there's a difference between when you're trying to, how do I say this? I start with a top, right? So for me, right, if you're really into the things that I'm about, right, the top tier of that means that you've done a DISC assessment and we've sat down and talked about it. You're probably doing some coaching and consulting with me. We've done a sales blueprint. You're probably watching this show, and like that's going to be like my top tier person to like work with, right? And so then from there, cool. what do those people want? And not everybody's going to get there, and that's okay, right? Because like not everyone's going to buy everything, and that's all right. And that's why the 1,000 True Fans is such an important thing, because of that 1,000, when you've got like premier level like products and packages and everything else like this that people can work their way up to and earn the right to be part of, that's when you start to see like really huge payoffs, right? So don't think about this as just like a business of providing plants, right? Because I think that we do that and we limit our potential to grow something to as big as we want it to be. So instead, think about what is the end goal, right? If I'm going to be in the plant and sustainability and healthy eating thing, what does the 7-figure version of this look like, right? And just go crazy and goal and game plan, and then strip away from there until it's like nice and tight, and then because then it's like boom, I want to go do this, I want to go do this, and that's going to keep you away from all the shiny things and black holes and rabbit holes and everything else.
Over each other nicely is you have the long-term planning that John's talking about, right? Which I 100% agree with, and then you have what the market will bear, right? Based on like surveying and understanding who your market 1,000 True Fans are, and moving out from there, and you lay those on top of each other, and that's where your sweet spot is.
And then from there, right, what the cool thing is that once you put them into like email and you build some rapport and stuff like this, they'll tell you exactly what they want, right? You can drop in surveys very, very easily. Hey, we're thinking about expanding a product line. Would you take a survey? Sure, right? And then they get something in return for that. But then you can go to those people and say, hey, we're thinking about doing this and this and this and this. We want to charge this. If we were going to charge this for these things, would you pay it? Right? And then you can pre-sell stuff before you invest any time or money into building out feature sets or additional things without really knowing if they're going to do well. And then you can also build it around these people who are already incentivized, because what happens is we go out and we start selling something, right? And I did this all the time on websites. I'd show up and say, hey, your website's terrible. Let me redo it. And they'd be like, well, I like it. Well, okay, great. That's terrible. Sorry. And so, but those people you're going to talk to a lot of people when you're starting out that aren't in your target market, because if your target market isn't defined, you don't know who to go talk to, right? And that's really important.
Yeah, so nobody wants to use their diet. Finding target audience has been kind of a struggle, I think, right now. I would love the idea of coming up with some sort of a course like you're talking about, but man, we're very much like cold turkey kind of people. We used to drink and stopped doing that. We quit eating sugar on the spot, and so coming up with a plan and some sort of a step down, it's hard for me to even imagine what that type of thing would look like. And anytime I try to post about it, it's just a bunch of jokers and memes, just like I'm good, like everybody is kind of pretty comfortable and happy where they're at.
He's worried about apathy. I'm worried about cringe factor. I have a lot of people, especially when I'm at work or when I'm speaking publicly, that come ask me about things, and they ask me about my worldview. And it absolutely has been shaped largely by Crohn's. I was diagnosed when I was a lot younger. So I internally cringe, where I don't want to be like a life coach or give this like weird speech about stuff like that. So I think it's interesting.
I'm gonna call you on that bridge, and this is my thing. That's head trash. That is a limiting belief that is just not serving you. Right? It is holding you back. It is not serving you whatsoever. So because here's the deal, like the problem that everybody has with a coach is that they don't practice what they preach, right? Or they don't have the experience, or they don't have the ability to really say with authority, here's why you should be doing those things. You don't have to worry about that. You've got authority out the wazoo. Both of you have got these things that you're dealing with and have adjusted before that. So it's not like you're saying, hey, go do these things, but I'm not going to, which is what everybody's main concern about coaches is you're really in the position to lead the way, right? And I don't think you're really trying to cultivate people who are not already on this path, right? That can happen later.
Right.
So go figure out the people who really, really want this, right? It's people who are really taking the COVID stuff seriously, right? Because I've seen a lot of my friends who took it very, very seriously. They were the opposite of the, hey, I want a haircut crowd. And so they were taking it very seriously and really getting into farming and sustainability and permaculture and all of these things. And that's your audience.
Yeah. My dad was in hydroponics and aquaponics, and we had greenhouses out back. And like that's the type of people that you already know exist, that are already on subreddits telling you everything they want out of life. So it's just knowing who you're aiming for, and to just, mimic what John said. It's 100% head trash, because you are the best person to tell your story, and that's all you're doing. If you don't want to sell coaching lessons on how to defeat the things you went through, you don't have to. But you do need to own your story, because that's your personal brand, and then that becomes your actual brand, because you guys are the leaders of it.
Interesting.
So the sooner you own that, the more true fans you'll have.
So let's talk about some angles, right? Because angles create strangles, right, Ben? But like angles, sorry, that's a thing. But the angle is about like getting your foot in the door and like really proving if this works, right? So I think that there's a ton of people who want to spend less money out, right? Because they're not sure if they're going to have a job or they're furloughed or anything else like that. So you can appeal to that market. Like, hey, our plans help you spend less at the store. Okay, awesome. There's the keto market. Eat healthier, know what you're putting into your body. There's the CrossFit market, and those guys can be very, very particular about what they ingest and stuff like this. So I just think you have to pick the angle that's going to make the most sense for you and start kind of working down that angle. And there's not anything wrong with having multiple angles and multiple things, but you just have to figure out, like, okay, I need to put in this much work, and here's my test, and here's when I know if it's working or not, or if I need to adjust or pivot.
Right.
That's the key thing.
And I think from the cringe factor, I think documenting your journey is by far the best way to do it, so you don't look like you're trying to be an expert, even if you don't feel like one, or you don't look like you're trying to be an influencer if that's not what you're trying to be. That's why we talked to, so I actually don't like 50% of what Gary Vee says, but he's really, really good at certain things, and documentation and his waterfall concepts and some things like that are fantastic, because they're, I'm in the story brand, for those who are watching, or if you guys know, story brand is basically, story is how the human brain ingests information. Through time, we tell stories, right? And so by you telling a true story about yourself, you're just making yourself more digestible to the crowd that wants to hear it. So I think that you can tell the same story to 5 different crowds, like John mentioned, not have to worry so much about what do I do here, what do I do here, what do I do here. You're not, there's no, whatchamacallit? I'm trying to think of a big word, but I won't do it. You're not splitting your brain up, right? You're not working against cognitive dissonance. You're not working against yourself. You're telling the same story everywhere, and you're making a couple offers, and you're listening and expanding as you go. Because I know when I go back and listen to some of mine, John's stuff, or different things like that, we love to talk big picture. But at the end of the day, I like for us to boil it down, hopefully, to something that, go start telling your story well. Go find a couple crowds to start selling it to, and get some feedback right away and start setting some goals around that. Of course, you can go do the massive big picture stuff, which is really valuable for building. But today and tomorrow, you don't have to do that. You could just go get on someplace that has some people that you think could buy your stuff and start talking to them. That's a great first step, because it's going to get you in a position to start understanding your crowd a little bit better.
All right. So here it is. Get it. Here, this is where the rubber meets the road. What do you need to do by next Friday to call next week a win?
Next Friday? Okay.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm trying to get. I've got some work here at the house to do to make it where people can come to us and pick up. That was kind of slowing down our sales a little bit.
Yeah, get full swing and pick up sales, honestly, for here.
Yeah.
That would be, and probably develop, I don't want to put us on an unrealistic plan, but develop a plan based on y'all's advice so far on this, on what is our angle, what is our story, how are we presenting ourselves. At least have like a brand outline for.
Yeah, I think it's doable.
Yeah.
So I want to back up to one thing real quick, Bridge, if we could. You said it's cringeworthy. Is it cringeworthy because it's like not the popular opinion? Like what makes it cringy to you?
I'm certain that that's a factor on cringe. Is it tends to be something that wasn't mainstream, and then it becomes mainstream, and then at that point it gets kind of cringe. But I think it's the number of people that have said, "Oh, I have the idea. Here's the solution," and it's doing this. It's being vegan. It's doing keto. It's doing it. And legitimately,
there's jokes about vegans and CrossFitters. You find out that they are those things within 10 seconds of the conversation. And
so hold on,
it's
that joke applies to everything.
And jujitsu,
right?
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's jujitsu. It was kung fu. It was sales when I was first getting into it. Like whatever you are pumped and jacked about is the thing that you're going to be spending every moment of everything talking about. Which is why, Jay calls it tribes, and like some of this stuff is not healthy, right? Like in the martial arts community, right? There's a lot of stuff that is you put these people who are really great at one thing on this pedestal, and then you look up to them as like a god, and that's not really what they're for, right? And you got to be able to separate those two things. But you guys, there's nothing fake to your approach, right? Like at all. Like you guys are honestly living with this and trying to do it. I would feel slimy if I wasn't living it, right? If I was like, you know what, I'm going to come up with this business around sustainability and plants and everything else like this, and factor to these things. Melissa's grandmother had Crohn's, but I don't have it, right? So I would feel a little, especially when it comes to like owning that message. You guys own that message, and like everything that you do every day, you guys are dealing with these things, right? You got to be careful about what you put in your bodies. You really have to maintain. You really got to plan, all these things. So
go ahead.
I was just going to. It's just a classic reframe. I think it's. I when I met John, hated salespeople. Like I thought salespeople were cringy, all of them, 100%. I'd never met a really good salesperson.
And he was working in a sales role whenever we met.
I was a salesman. I was in business development at a bank, but I just wanted to make money. And so, but my point being is all you got to do is do you, and then sell some stuff because you think it's good for you. If there's other people that like what you do, you want to sell them stuff too. Like that's the way you start. That's how you start building confidence in that area. I think this is me. This is what I do. It works for me. I think there's some science here that backs this. I've got some great anecdotal stuff over here. Come try it out. That's my sales pitch, right?
That's also the Tim Ferriss thing, right? When you scratch your own itch, right? When you're solving your own problem, you're always going to have a market of at least one, right? And no one is truly a unique, completely individual person anyway. So you're going to have a market when you can solve your own problems, right? So go find everybody who's dealing with this stuff, right? Reach out to some hospitals, right? I mean, here in Fort Worth, we have like a whole lot of hospitals, right? And they know these people, and there's gastrointestinal doctors, and stuff like that. So you might start all the way up at that level of like working with doctors and medical providers to say, hey, before you ship somebody down to something, we've been able to help people shift and do these things, and it's about a way of eating and stuff like that. I know a lot of people who are kind of fringy when it comes to like what they do, like my friend Charles, he does this thing called BEST, which is bioelectric synchronizational technique, and it's this alternative form of chiropractic. And it's a fringe kind of deal. Like not everybody sees value in it, and that's okay. But the people who do, man, they love my buddy Charles, right? And I go see Charles and all these things. So approach it from that angle. Like I'm scratching my own itch. There's going to be a market here, and then figure out where you need to inject that. Because my opinion is the more radical your idea, the further up you have to go. Right. That's
where I'd start. Yeah. Find group to support Crohn's and start there.
Yeah.
Hold on. Every yoga instructor in this city is probably already bought in somewhat to this like method of living and eating and being mindful and everything else like this. So Dardanus, like go talk to him and be like, hey, we're doing this plant thing. Do you have anybody in your circle who might be dealing with celiac? Any of these things that we could talk to? We're trying to get some research. We're selling some plants, but we want to, do these things because yoga schools are centers for this kind of stuff, right? Right. And then, there's a guy here in town who's got a float tank studio, right? People who are into float tanks are probably also into permaculture and really managing what they eat and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like, and then there's like networking marketing done well. Because when you get a network marketing group, they're like, go ask all your friends and we're going to build this team, blah, 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 right? Same idea. Go find who you already know, who you're already plugged in with, who already has interest in these areas, and start there and let John guide your questioning. Like ask curious questions.
Yeah. And you know what? Ash, who's in our Discord with us, Ben, she's a doula, right? And doulas, I mean, she
yeah.
specifically has been doing it for like a very long time, and she's worked with like some pretty high-end people, and a lot of the things that she does are not kid related. It's food prepping, it's delivery, it's all of these other things, you know. So there's people who are already on this path with you. They just don't. It's just kind of like slightly off, right? So all you have to do is be like, oh, and they'll align it, and then they'll help you. They'll put you in front of people. They'll champion your brand because you guys are legit. Like, you guys are actually dealing with this stuff. It's not just like a product push, which is great.
The way we talk about it on the content marketing side is it's who's buying before your product and who's buying after your product.
Yes.
All these people who are already in the lifestyle buying something at a store before they came to see you, go find that other store, make a partnership, collaboration.
Yeah, I mean, start with the thing. Hey, would you buy this plant? Why do I need a plant? Okay, cool. I need to make sure that I talk about why people need this plant before they buy the plant. Cool. Hey, I've got a plant. It grows vegetables, and vegetables are healthy. Would you want to buy the plant? I don't want to like vegetables. Okay, how do I solve that problem? Right? Hey, okay, cool. I've got a plant. It makes vegetables, and a lot of people don't like vegetables. You might not even want it, but it's healthy. It's going to make you live longer. What's more important, living well or having tasty food? Well, I want to live well. Okay, you want to buy my plant? Right? And then you kind of back into a sales process from starting there, right? Like, and you can do this amongst yourselves, right? We overcomplicate the sales thing so much when it's just like when you put yourself into that spot of like, what would make me not want to buy this thing? Well, I don't know enough about it. Okay, what do I need to know to make the right decision? Okay, these things. What are the objections going to happen? You can front load all of that stuff into the sales conversation and then into the marketing to have better conversations. But there's people out there that are already on this path. I'm so fired up. I'm sorry, I can't shut up. But like, there's already these people that are like here and they're around and they're adjacent and they just need to see this thing and hear your story and they'll be like, oh. And the next time Charles, right, deals with somebody who's dealing with Crohn's or one of these diseases and he knows about you guys, he can be like, oh, you got to go talk to Ben and Bridge now. Go do it. I can help you, but like, you got to do this other stuff. It's already there. Yeah. You just have to go find it.
No, this was amazing. No, thank you.
No,
that's
great.
Awesome. I love that our idea fired you up. That's great feedback for us. And also, thank you. You've actually legit helped me get over like a lifelong problem probably just now. No, and definitely confidence build for us. You kind of touched on the subject of apathy, and I'm going to leave Ben to finish up with you guys because I have another conference call that I have to jump on. But thank you all so much. Thank you for the time. I really appreciate it. This was stellar. So
you are super welcome. I miss you guys. Bridge will, train at some point in the future, I guess.
Someday.
Yeah. No, yeah, you answered a lot. You answered extra questions that I had written down that I couldn't even think of a way to work into it about social media and sort of trying to work on my audience and figure out sort of a presence because I felt something kind of scratching at the surface that there was something there to that, and I hadn't really considered pulling all of this in like that. It's weird when you live it, you don't see it as the story in the same way, I guess. And then for us, we didn't buy anything to do this. We weren't. It didn't cost us any money to move into this lifestyle, so it was a little bit difficult for me to understand that other people might need help going down the same path that we sort of did on our own.
I have so many ideas, right? Because there's all these pre-packaged food things now, right? But like Snap, where it is one that I really like. But most of those meals are very, very small, and I'm still feeling hungry at the end of it, but I don't want to go eat something crappy because I invested in, nice food. So some vegetables, right? Like supplement the things that you're doing to improve, right? Your Blue Apron, your Snap, your food delivery with vegetables, because you're already putting in the hard work. Like don't run to the pantry and eat Cheez-Its. Like, don't do it. Like, stay on the path, right? So here's the path. We can help supplement the path with good, clean food, all of these things. And
I think the biggest piece of good news for y'all from a market standpoint is that you actually don't have to do that much education anymore. There's so much out there now about why this is the right thing to do. It's finding the people that are already willing to take out their wallets and building partnerships that are going to feed your business long term. Because clearly there's lots more education. There's more science coming out every day. And those are great things to discuss, but I don't even think you need to focus as much on education as much as awareness of, hey, remember this is out here. Hey, remember you can do this yourself. And hey, remember we're close by, things like that. Because that's scaling. We're talking about scaling when you talk about educating, because that's a new market for you. Use the market you have.
One of the things that I learned very, very early on, Ben, was this rule. It was called at the time the 3-foot rule. It needs to be adjusted for the 6-foot rule now because of social distancing. But it was this idea that like anybody who comes within 3 foot of you should know what you do, right? And because it's crazy, I do this without really thinking about it. But like at the kung fu school, before I was doing, I was asked like, hey, what do you do? Right? Because I want them to ask me. And then they say, oh, I do this, I do this, I do this. What do you do? Well, I do this. Okay, great. and I kind of do it at the jiu-jitsu school as well, right? Like I always ask everybody what they do. Like I'm constantly networking, right? Because the more people who know what I do and who I am and have some trust, the more they can, when someone is like, man, I'm struggling with some sales stuff. Oh, you got to talk to John. John's a great guy. I don't exactly know what he does, but I know he works in sales, and I submit him 17 times to 1. So, whatever that looks like. Yeah. So the 6-foot rule, like how many people have you told this week that you're working on this project?
I mean, nobody. Yeah. 0.
You got me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Me too. So,
too,
right. But it's got to be way more, man. Because here's the deal, and this is important when it comes to selling. If you don't have that, if you don't believe that you solve your version of cancer in your industry, it's really hard to like stand up there and be like endlessly promoting and saying all of these things. And that's kind of what you have to do to cut through the noise these days. You got to be consistent. You got to be out there, and you got to put yourself into these spots that are kind of uncomfortable, right? Because I don't like talking about myself, which is kind of the reason why we're doing part of this. Right? Jake and I are talking about these things. We're sharing value between each other and stuff like that. You guys are hopping in here, and with time, this will become a lead generator, right? So someone will see this thing and they'll be like, oh, I need more sales help, so I'll work with John, or I need more marketing help, I'm going to work with Jake, or maybe it's a combination of the two of us. But like, this makes it so that way you don't have to brag, and that's the cool thing about documenting. People see the journey in the third person, and so then you don't have to show up and be like, hey, look how awesome I am, because that's uncomfortable for many people.
Yeah, it's like watching an infomercial versus watching a news anchor interview someone who's done something really cool. You're like, oh, I'm gonna go buy from that person. Whereas the infomercial, you're like, I mean, that's cheap, that's kind of cool, I might buy that. There's like a cool difference between how you feel about the presentation. So, and we got to wrap, John. I got a 9:15.
Yeah. Ben, dude, go tell everybody you know. There should not be anybody in your circle who does not know that you're doing this project by next Friday.
Yep, it's true.
Okay.
Yeah, just put a post out. Tell everybody why you're doing it too. Don't just say, hey, we're selling. Yeah. Say, hey, we've been dealing with this for years and this has really helped us out. So we just decided we're going to go on this journey and we're going to do this thing. So if you have anybody that might be interested, here's our website, or here's my phone number. Like that's a great way to start, is just tell your story.
So real quick, I love the idea that you guys are selling these things before you've gone down the whole sunk cost of like, let's build a logo and like let's do all these things, because you don't have to do that stuff very, very first, right? Go out and talk to people and figure out what they want and what they're going to buy and stuff like that, and then you can back into it, and that's going to be better because you're going to avoid sunk cost, right? When you go out and you hire someone to like create a logo for you or something like this, it's going to, and you see it, you're going to lock onto it, and that's going to color how you build the rest of the business, right? Like my logo is very consultish looking, right? So it makes me look like a consultant. Okay, great, I am a consultant. This is awesome, but that was done purposefully. But you don't have to do that early on. I already knew who I wanted to help. You guys are still trying to figure some of this out. So before you go down like a branding path and like planting your flag and saying like, this is who we are, go talk to some people and figure out like,
go sell some more.
Yeah.
Find out who it is.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool, man. Well, man, it's great to meet you. I'm sure I'll see you in the Discord group too. And, we love having people on. So appreciate you sharing your stuff with us.
Yeah, this was an awesome experience. Thank you so much, guys, for all your help. I've got a lot of things to chase down this week now. So
awesome. All right, man. Well, we'll see you soon. And John, let's end this thing up, man.
Dude, I'm fired up. Like I'm gonna start a plant business now. This is
All
awesome.
right. Yeah.
I'm not going to. Hold on. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to avoid the shiny thing. I don't need any more projects. So
Right. Exactly. But hey, you did get to help somebody start a plant business, so that should fire you up too.
yes. There it is.
There
There
it
it is.
That's the win.
I'm living vicariously through Bridget and Ben.
That's right.
So awesome, man. Go get on your 9:15. Have a great day, and we'll catch up on Monday.
All right. Peace. See you, Bill.
See you, Bill.